We're here at Barn Pool in Mt Edgcumbe Park on the other side of the River Tamar from Plymouth. And where we're standing is on one of the concrete roads built by the Americans for moving their vehicles to the ships ready to embark for Omaha Beach. You'll notice that the sides of the road are more substantial than the centre, and I presume that's because that's where the wheels will go for the very large Dodge six-wheel drive cargo vehicles, and also the smaller Weasel tracked vehicles. The 116th Regiment was due to land at Omaha Beach following the 116th Regiment, which was in the first wave on Omaha Beach. And those of you who've seen the film called Saving Private Ryan will realise that there was carnage on that beach, because the 116th Regiment could not get off the beach and up what they call the bluffs, or sand cliffs, or go up the drawers, as they called them, or escape routes to get off the beach. Because of that carnage, the 115th Regiment didn't land where they were supposed to. They had to go further west, where they landed successfully and managed to secure one of the drawers or exits from the beach. And Colonel Blatt, who was the CEO of the 1st Battalion, was killed coming off the beach, as were lots of men. The regiment then was involved in the breakout of American troops from Saint-Lô, and then attacked the town of Brest on the western shore of France, and then ended up in Germany. There were 157% casualties of the men in the regiment.
How can you have 157%?
Well, because men would be replaced constantly. So as there were casualties, new men would come along and be put into the regiment, and then they would be casualties. And the killed in action rate was 35%. So the chances are that you were going to be a casualty, and it was a fair chance you were going to be killed. And we must remember the sacrifices that these men made.
Absolutely. And of course, the last part of ordinary life these young men had was Barn Pool.
Yeah.
And maybe going across to Plymouth in the evening before the lockdown happened.
Yeah, they were locked down in the few weeks before. They weren't allowed to talk to any of the locals. But the rumour that they had at the time was that they were going to land in North Africa. I think that was because they did their training not only on Bodmin Moor, but they had more formal training at Woolacombe Beach in North Devon, and then also divisional training with the rest of the 29th Division at Slapton in a training exercise called Duck. You will probably have heard that the later exercise called Tiger, there was a lot of casualties caused by German S-boats attacking the troops before they could get ashore. And that's the story of the 115th Regiment here.
If I stood here on the day before D-Day, or perhaps 2 days before, tell me exactly what I might see here. Paint me the image.
You would see 2 jetties with landing ship tanks, 3 landing ship tanks docked there. You'd have seen the Chocolate Bar beach, and you'd have seen American Dodge six-wheel drive trucks pulling 57mm anti-tank guns, which were based on the British 6-pounder.
What would I have heard here?
you would have heard a lot of grinding of engines, I think.
Yes. It would have been an amazing scene.
Yes.
And of course, we'd have heard American accents here.
Yes,
That
yes.
most people in Plymouth would never have heard before, presumably.
No, no. One of the photographs of the troops going onto the landing ship tanks has a lone figure standing aside from the others, looking back towards the camera. And I often wonder what happened to him, what he was thinking at the time. There was a rumour they were going to land in North Africa because of the training on the beaches, I guess. And he was probably thinking of home, where he probably had a wife and children, because these were not GIs, these were ordinary men who'd been in the reserves for years.
Because everybody thinks they're young men. Even I thought that.
Yes.
But it seems that's not as it was, perhaps.
No, you had a core of reservists who were older men, and then when the regiment was federalised, that is, changed from National Guard affiliation to the state to the USA, they then recruited lots more men, but recruited them locally, and they were men who wanted to fight with their mates.
So is it the equal to the PALS regiments that we had in World War One?
Yes, and what happened on Omaha Beach with the National Guard was that one town called Bedford in Virginia lost, I think, 17 men in one day. And of course the 116th Regiment took 96% casualties in 10 minutes, which was horrific.
Brian, thank you very, very much.